Now, we know some people go to great lengths and pay so much money to have a baby. But this couple went to the next level. After 29 failed IVF attempts, they travelled to Russia just as the war was declared, because an IVF clinic in Saint Petersburg offers a money-back guarantee.
If it wasn't going to work here, it just isn't going to work anywhere.
We were stubborn and we were willing to sacrifice a lot to get there.
At 48 years old, Suvi Mahonen isn't your typical expectant mother.
Literally, we count every day. Like, I get up out of bed and I say to hubby, we're 32 plus 4, 32 plus 5 today. So every day counts.
But this has been a journey years in the making, taking Suvi and her husband Luke around the world, fuelled by an insatiable desire to complete their family.
How much money do you think you've spent on IVF over the years?
Almost $250,000.
Yeah. It has been huge. It has been so long and so hard and so emotional.
Suvi and Luke were childhood sweethearts, marrying when Suvi was just 21, Luke 23.
But for a multitude of reasons, we didn't start trying for a child until she was in her mid-30s, which I certainly would not recommend if you're wanting children.
When the couple attempted to start their family a decade ago, Suvi was assisted by ovulation drugs to conceive their daughter Amity naturally. Luke himself is an obstetrician, but even he was shocked at what came next.
We were very mistaken about how hard it would be for a second child.
For years, the couple tried to grow their family, eventually turning to IVF for help, but that would lead to more heartache. 26 rounds of IVF and no baby.
You have the transfers and you're so hopeful after a transfer, and yeah, it's a lot of tears.
And we did eventually reach a stage in mid-2020 when we finally accepted that it wasn't going to occur with Suvi's eggs.
With strict donor laws in Australia making it illegal to enter into a financial arrangement, the couple turned their attention overseas. First to the US, 3 rounds using donor eggs, but all failed. Then to a clinic in Russia, again with donor eggs.
One reason we went there was because I think they're one of the only ones that we know of that offer a live birth guarantee.
Called the OLGA Clinic in Saint Petersburg, it stands for Offers Live Birth Guarantee Assurance for both donor and traditional IVF. Dr. Olga Zastev runs the clinic and promotes it online.
For a patient, the only desired IVF result is a baby. So only such a result can be ultimate and sufficient for professionals in the clinic.
So for €25,000, roughly 40,000 Australian dollars, you can have up to 3 rounds with a donor, and if you don't have a take-home baby by the end of the 3rd round, they promise the money back.
The first round in Russia was IVF round 30.
We sort of always knew that the overseas trip was it. Like, it was kind of the end of the road. So if it wasn't going to work here, it just isn't going to work anywhere.
But getting to Russia for the treatment in March this year was a monumental task.
Unfortunately, Putin decided to invade 15 days before we left, which was horrendous timing. And sure, you'd get asked where you were from, and as soon as they heard Australia, they were fine. I only ever got asked once if I was a Ukrainian spy, and I think he was half joking. But, half joking.
10 days after the transfer and back home in Australia, a moment they'd dreamed of for years. Suvi crediting the extensive pre- and post-care program of supplements and injections.
This is evidence enough for me that whatever they did worked.
A little boy to be called Spencer, now just weeks away.
I was like wondering about, how would it feel having a donor egg? Is it going to feel any different? It feels no different. He's my baby. And I just can't wait to just have him in my arms.
The couple grateful they've finally reached their end goal, but they wish the rules in Australia would change to make it easier for other couples, including allowing embryos into the country and allowing anonymous donations.
In Russia, it's the exact opposite. We actually had to sign things saying that you are not allowed to try and find out who the person is who contacted them.
You can ship sperm over to Australia and you can ship eggs over to Australia, but if you've got an embryo, like we do have one embryo on ice at the Russian clinic, but we would not be allowed to ship an embryo over.
It doesn't look like we're going to have a commercial donation in Australia anytime soon.
Dr. Andy Stamateo from City Fertility, which runs donor banks Adam and Eve in Australia, says heading overseas has its own risks and he questions the money-back guarantee.
So I'm not sure about whether those guarantees for live birth will actually be honoured if she didn't get a live birth. So my view is that we just don't know these other egg banks and we don't know if they're going to treat our patients the same as we would here.
Has it been worth the money?
It was worth it.
Can't put a price on it, like you can't.